Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to solve an inequality using different methods. Okay, so we'll be discussing on how do we solve an inequality using graph and using algebra. Okay, so first of all, here the inequality is x cubed is less or equals to 16x, and you want to solve for x. If it was equals to sign, that would be easy, right? Since this is less or equals to, meaning that you want to list all those values of x that has x cubed less or equals to 16x. The first step we do is, if there is anything on the right side of the inequality, you bring that to the left. So first of all, what we do is you subtract 16x on both sides. What do you get? You get x cubed. So x cubed minus 16x is less or equals to 0, meaning that that's the first step. Okay, so what you do is make the right hand side 0. Okay, the next thing you do is you set that as f of x. Set f of x equals to x cubed minus 16x. So once you get that, once you get the right hand side 0, you assume everything on the left as f of x. And if you want to use the graph, what you do is in your calculator, press y equals to and enter this function in y equals to. Okay, once you enter this and then set the window, the right window, then you will get a graph of the function like this. Okay, now what do you want to do, what do you want to solve, what do you want to list here is we want to find those x that has f of x is less or equals to 0, meaning that where for what values of x in this graph the function is less than 0. For what values of x the function is less than 0 means negative. The function negative means y value negative. For what values of x y value is negative, meaning for what values of x the graph is below the x-axis, or equals to 0 means on the x-axis or below the x-axis. What are the values of x where the graph is on or below x-axis? For all the x that is left to negative 4, it is either on x-axis or below x-axis. You see that? And also for all values of x between 0 and 4 also, the graph is below x-axis. So how do you write that? So the answer is starting from negative infinity to where it goes up to negative 4, right? And then we include that negative 4 because at negative 4 the value of the function is 0, it is on x-axis, so you include that negative 4 because we want to know where the function f of x is less below x-axis or equals to mean on x-axis. Union, also in this part the graph is below x-axis, right? Also at 0 and 4 the graph is on x-axis. So what do you do that? Is 0 to 4 including 0 and 4. This is the answer from the graph. What do you do? Set the right hand side 0, bring everything to the left and set that as f of x, enter that into the calculator and graph it, and then see, since you want to prove on x-axis or below x-axis, look at the graph and then list those values. So the next method is we want to use algebra for that, right? To use the algebra again, you set the right hand side 0 as we did here and then set f of x equals to x cubed minus 16x. Okay, now you find out what are the x-intercepts here, okay, or you solve for x. That's the in shorter form, you solve for x. How do you solve for x, or how do you find the x-intercept, or how do you find the roots of this? The idea is set y equals to 0, that is x cubed minus 16x equals to 0. How do I solve this? You factor out. If there is common factor, factor out. You factor out x, what do you get? X squared minus 16 equals to 0. Since there is 0 on the right hand side, you write either x equals to 0 or x squared minus 16 equals to 0. Add 16, what do you get? You got x squared equals to 16 and take the square root. When you take the square root, you consider both plus and minus. You get x equals to plus 4 and then minus 4. So what are the roots? So you got x equals to 0, minus 4 and then plus 4. So you got the roots, you got the x-intercepts, and there are 3 x-intercepts. Okay, so the next thing you do is after you get the x-intercepts, again this function has no denominator. If there is no denominator, just solve the numerator. If there is denominator, you solve the numerator separately and you solve the denominator separately, and whatever you get for x, you list all those values of x, okay? And then what you do is you draw a line and then mark all those values by solving numerator and denominator. But since this does not have denominator, whatever you got from solving the numerator, you list those values. So there is 0 will be in the middle, -4 will be in the left side, right? And also +4 will be on the right side of the 0. So you mark those, okay? Now what you do is you take a test point in this part, in this part, in this part, in this part, because there are 4 parts. You've got 3 points marked here, so there are 4 parts. That is left to -4, between -4 and 0, between 0 and 4, and right to the 4. So take test point that is left to 4. You can take test point as say -5 and plug this -5 into that function, okay? If you get positive number, you write plus, 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 plus. If you get negative number, you write minus, 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 like that, okay? So let's take the -5 and then test point -5 and then plug it in f. So what do you get? If you plug -5 for x, you will get -5 to the cubed and minus 16 times -5. What is that? -5 to the cube is, if you use calculator, it will be -125. 16 times -5. -16 times -5 will be plus 80. Is it positive or negative? It will be negative, right? Alright, so you write minus, 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 minus. So all these pieces will be filled with negative sign because at the test point it is negative. Now let's pick a point between 0 and -4. Let's pick -1. So pick -1 as a test point there and plug it in here. So you get -1 to the cubed and then minus 16 times -1. What do you get? -1 to the cubed is -1. 16 times -16 times -1 will be positive 16, right? So it will be 15. So it is positive. This was negative, it is positive, means you fill with plus sign. Alright, let's pick a number between 0 and 4. That's a test point between 0 and 4. Let's pick 1. What do you get? 1 to the cubed, 1 to the cubed minus 16 times 1. You just plug in 1 for x. You got 1 minus 16. That is negative, right? So you fill with negative sign there. Again, let's pick a point, test point right to 5, right to 4. That is 5. I pick 5. So 5 cubed, plug in here, minus 16 times 5. You got 125 minus 80. So this will be positive, right? So it will be plus, 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 plus. So what are the solutions then? We are interested only the values of fx that is below x-axis, or negative values of y or fx. We are interested the values of x where y is negative, right? So here these are the place where the y is negative. So what are those? So it looks like left to -4, that is -infinity to -4, but we are interested on below x-axis or on x-axis. At -4 it is 0, so you include that, right? Union the other part where it is negative is between 0 and 4, 0 and 4, but at 0 and 4 the fx, the y value is 0. You can see that from the graph as well. So you just include those. This is how we solve the inequality, okay?